He was just the quiet janitor. Everyone ignored, until a power outage locked the entire building down, and he unlocked a secret room that changed everything the office thought they knew about him, leaving even the CEO in tears and the whole company stunned into silence. Marcus had been invisible for 12 years. Every morning at 5 a.m., he'd slip through the back entrance of Meridian Technologies, his cleaning cart squeaking down empty hallways. By the time employees arrived, he'd already sanitized 3 floors and retreated to the shadows. The office workers called him the ghost janitor. They'd find their workspaces spotless, but rarely saw him do it. When they did catch glimpses, Marcus would nod politely and disappear around the corner. "Morning, Marcus," Sarah from accounting would say occasionally, one of the few who bothered learning his name. "Morning, Miss Chen," he'd reply softly, never meeting her eyes. That was the extent of all his relationships here. Marcus preferred it that way. At 62, with graying temples and weathered hands, he'd learned that invisibility was safer than explaining why a man with 3 engineering degrees was mopping floors for minimum wage. But on October 15th, everything changed. It started with the power grid failure at 11:47 a.m. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting eerie shadows through the 40-story tower. "What's happening?" Voices echoed through corridors. Marcus was replacing fluorescent bulbs when the electronic locks engaged throughout the building with distinctive clicks. "We're locked in," someone shouted. Panic spread quickly. Emergency exits wouldn't budge. Stairwell doors remained sealed. Some building-wide security protocol had activated that none of them knew existed. Marcus knew why. 23 years ago, Dr. Marcus Reed had been Meridian Technologies' head of security systems. The building's lockdown system was his creation, a failsafe designed to contain sensitive information. But it had never been tested with people inside. For 2 hours, he watched them panic. The air circulation had slowed. Temperature was rising. Without power to main systems, they had perhaps 6 hours of breathable air. Sarah Chen sat crying outside her office. "My daughter's dance recital is tonight," she whispered. That's when Marcus made his decision. He took the service elevator to sublevel 3, a floor that didn't exist on public schematics. His keycard still worked on the hidden scanner. The room beyond looked like science fiction. Banks of servers hummed on emergency power. Multiple monitors displayed building schematics and security protocols. This was Meridian Technologies' real nerve center. Marcus sat at the central console and began typing. "Hello, old friend," he whispered. The building's AI responded. "Welcome back, Dr. Reed. It has been 8,396 days since your last login. Run diagnostic on lockdown protocol. Multiple system failures detected. Estimated time to critical oxygen depletion, 4 hours, 18 minutes. Execute emergency override. Authorization read Alpha 779. Throughout the building, locks disengaged. Emergency lighting brightened. Ventilation roared back to life. "Dr. Reed." Victoria Blackwood descended the stairs with 3 employees. Their faces shifted from relief to confusion at the high-tech command center. "Marcus?" Sarah appeared behind them. "What is all this?" Victoria stepped forward, recognition dawning. "Dr. Marcus Reed, you were supposedly killed 23 years ago. The explosion was staged," Marcus said quietly. "I needed to disappear. What we were developing, I couldn't be part of it anymore. But you stayed," Victoria said. "All these years. Someone had to maintain the systems. Make sure the safeguards worked." Marcus faced them. "Your company built weapons, Mrs. Blackwood. I helped design them all. The security systems that just saved us, and the ones that trapped you." Marcus pulled up screens. "This building is a fortress, but it was never meant to be a prison. The patents we've been using for decades, they're all yours. Technically, they belong to a dead man." Marcus's smile was bitter. "Why?" Jennifer from HR had joined them, along with a growing crowd of employees. "Why give up everything to mop our floors?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, his weathered hands resting on the keyboard. "Because I helped create something terrible. Weapons disguised as security systems. Technology that could oppress as easily as protect. When I realized what we'd built, what it would be used for, I tried to destroy it all." "The explosion," Victoria breathed. "I destroyed the research, the prototypes, the weapons applications, but the defensive systems, the things that could protect people instead of harming them, those I kept alive. Someone had to watch over them. Someone had to make sure they were used right. So you became the janitor. I became invisible. I could monitor everything, maintain the systems, make small improvements over the years, keep you all safe without anyone knowing." Marcus turned back to the screens. "But today, staying invisible would have meant letting you all die." Sarah wiped her eyes. "You've been protecting us this whole time. In my own way." Victoria was studying the displays around them. 23 years of hidden innovations. Security improvements made in the dark hours of the night. Systems upgraded by ghost hands that left no trace except increased efficiency and safety. "The emergency protocols that activated today," she said slowly. "They weren't in our original specifications. I added them, over the years, making your building safer, your systems more reliable." Marcus pulled up a building schematic. "Every improvement made after hours, tested in simulation, implemented when no one was watching. The new ventilation system in Tower B? Me. The upgraded fire suppression? Me. The backup power systems that never fail? All me." The room fell silent, except for the humming of computers. 37 employees stared at the man they'd ignored for 12 years, the invisible janitor who'd been their guardian angel. Victoria was the first to speak. "Why didn't you tell us?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Because the moment you knew who I really was, everything would change. You'd want to capitalize on my knowledge, develop new technologies, and I swore I'd never build weapons again. Not weapons," Victoria said softly. "Protection, like today. The line between protection and control is thinner than you think. But you could have been so much more than..." "Than what?" Marcus turned to face her. "A janitor? You think what I've been doing isn't important?" Sarah stepped forward. That's not what she means. I know exactly what she means. Marcus's voice carried decades of hidden pain. But let me tell you something about being invisible. You see everything. You see how this company really works. You see who stays late to help struggling colleagues. You see who takes credit for others' work. You see who treats the little people with kindness and who treats them like furniture. He gestured towards Sarah. Miss Chen here? She's the only person in 12 years who's consistently said good morning to me. She's the only one who's ever asked about my weekend, my family, my life. And I've watched her stay late countless nights, not for her own projects, but to help others meet their deadlines. Sarah's eyes filled with tears again. Mr. Rodriguez from IT? He fixes everyone's computer problems, even the personal ones. Even when it's not his job. He's been passed over for promotion 6 times because he's too valuable in his current role. And Mrs. Patterson from reception? She memorizes the names of everyone's children, asks about their soccer games and piano recitals, makes this corporate tower feel like a community. But she's been stuck at the front desk for 8 years because no one sees her potential. The assembled employees looked at each other with new recognition. Being invisible taught me something, Marcus continued. The real heroes aren't always the ones in corner offices. Sometimes they're the ones emptying your trash cans and making sure your coffee machine works in the morning. Victoria's composure finally cracked completely. Tears streamed down her face. I don't even know most of their names. That's the problem with being visible, Marcus said gently. Sometimes you can only see what's at your own level. He turned back to the controls. The building systems are stable now. You're all safe. The emergency beacon I activated will bring help within the hour. But I need to ask you all for something. Anything, Sarah said immediately. Let Marcus Reed stay dead. Let me go back to being invisible. He looked around at all of them. Because the moment this story gets out, the moment the government realizes I'm alive, everything I've built here, all the protections, all the safeguards, will be compromised. They'll want to use my knowledge for things I swore I'd never build again. But you could help us do so much good, Victoria protested. Marcus smiled sadly. I've been helping you do good for 23 years. You just never noticed. The sound of helicopters grew louder above them. Emergency responders had arrived. There's another reason I need to stay invisible, Marcus said quietly. My daughter is getting married next month. She thinks her father died a hero, trying to stop his own creation from being weaponized. I'd like her to keep thinking that, Sarah gasped. The woman who calls you sometimes during lunch breaks? Lisa. She's an environmental lawyer now, uses her maiden name professionally. She has no idea her father is still alive, still trying to make amends for what he helped create. You could tell her and destroy her peace? Her memories of a father who died fighting for what was right? Marcus shook his head. Some gifts are better given in secret, but Victoria stepped forward, her voice breaking. Marcus, you don't understand. Your daughter, Lisa Reed Martinez? Marcus froze. How do you know her married name? Because she's been trying to contact us for 3 years. She's been investigating Meridian Technologies. Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. She thinks we killed her father to cover up illegal weapons development. The color drained from Marcus's face. What? She's filed Freedom of Information requests, hired private investigators, threatened lawsuits. She believes we assassinated Dr. Marcus Reed and made it look like an accident. Victoria pulled out her phone, scrolling through emails. She thinks you died because you were going to expose us. Marcus sank into a chair, the weight of 23 years crashing down on him. She's been investigating? Her latest email was last week. She said she's getting married and wants to clear her father's name before starting her new life. Victoria showed him the phone screen. She's scheduled to meet with federal investigators next Tuesday. Sarah moved closer, reading over Victoria's shoulder. She's going to expose everything? She doesn't know what she's exposing, Marcus said hoarsely. If the federal investigators start digging, if they realize the building systems are more advanced than anything on the market, if they trace the improvements back to their source, they'll figure out you're alive, Victoria finished. And they'll want me to build weapons again. Real weapons this time. The kind that could level cities. Marcus stood, pacing in the small space. Everything I've done, all these years of hiding, it'll be for nothing. Jennifer spoke up from the back of the group. Can't you just tell her the truth? The truth? Marcus laughed bitterly. That I faked my death and abandoned my 18-year-old daughter? That I let her grieve for 23 years while I mopped floors in the same building where her father supposedly died? That I watched her struggle through college alone, get married without her father walking her down the aisle, build a career fighting the same system I helped create? The room fell silent. The magnitude of Marcus's sacrifice was becoming clear, not just what he'd given up, but what he'd put his daughter through. There's more, Victoria said softly. She's been having the building watched. Her private investigator has photos of all our employees, trying to identify anyone who might have known her father. Marcus felt the walls closing in. Photos, including you. He just doesn't know who you are yet. Victoria showed him another screen on her phone. But if he runs facial recognition software, if he compares old photos of Dr. Marcus Reed with current building personnel, he'll realize the janitor is her supposedly dead father. Sarah was crying again. This is horrible. She's been mourning you for over 20 years, and you've been here the whole time. I thought it was better this way, Marcus said quietly. I thought she could have a normal life, away from all this. But she didn't have a normal life, Victoria said gently. She became obsessed with finding the truth about her father's death. It's consumed her career, her relationships. According to her emails, her fiancé almost called off the engagement because she couldn't let go of the investigation. Marcus closed his eyes. Robert, good man, environmental engineer like she is, they met at a protest against corporate pollution. You know about him? I've been keeping track, from a distance. Marcus's voice was barely audible. I know she's been unhappy. I know she's been searching for answers, but I hoped she'd eventually move on. She can't move on because she thinks you were murdered, Sarah said. She thinks there was no justice for your death. And if she exposes Meridian Technologies to federal investigators next Tuesday, Victoria added, she might get the justice she's looking for, but it'll destroy everything you've built here. And worse, it'll put you back on the government's radar. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, processing the impossible situation. Above them, the sound of emergency crews grew louder as they evacuated the upper floors. There's something else, he said finally. Something I haven't told you about today's lockdown. Victoria tensed. What? The person who triggered it remotely? I've been analyzing the access logs. Marcus pulled up a hidden screen. The breach came from outside our standard government contracts. Someone with knowledge of the old weapon systems. Someone who knows I might still be alive. Who? Dr. Harrison Webb. My former partner from the original project. Marcus's face was grim. He was supposed to die in the explosion too, but he escaped. He's been working for private military contractors ever since, developing the weapons I refused to build. Sarah gasped. He's after you? He's after the technology. The defensive systems I've perfected over 23 years represent billions in military contracts. If he can prove I'm alive, if he can force me to cooperate. Marcus trailed off. He'll use your daughter as leverage, Victoria said, understanding. Exactly. Today's lockdown wasn't just reconnaissance. It was a message. He knows where I am, and he knows I won't let innocent people die to protect my secret. The rescue teams were getting closer. They could hear voices in the stairwell, emergency personnel calling out to ensure the basement was clear. So what do we do? Jennifer asked. Marcus looked around at the faces surrounding him, people he'd protected from the shadows for over a decade, people who now understood the weight of his sacrifice. We give Lisa what she's looking for, he said quietly. The truth about her father's death, but not the whole truth. What do you mean? I mean, we let Dr. Marcus Reed die heroically once and for all. We give her closure, we satisfy the federal investigators, and we make sure Harrison Webb believes I'm really gone this time. Victoria frowned. How? The building's security footage. I can create a record of Dr. Marcus Reed's final moments, show him discovering the weapon specifications, trying to destroy them, dying in the explosion he caused to stop the project. Marcus was already working at the console. 23-year-old footage that was supposedly recovered from damaged servers. But that's not what really happened. No, but it's what should have happened. It's the story Lisa needs to hear. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard. And it's the story that will convince Harrison Webb that he's been chasing a ghost. Sarah wiped her eyes. You're going to fake your death again? I'm going to make my death real this time. Dr. Marcus Reed will finally rest in peace. The janitor will continue his work. Marcus pulled up another screen. But first I need to send a message to my daughter. You're going to contact her? Indirectly. Through channels that will make it look like the evidence came from her investigation. Not from me. Marcus began typing. She's going to discover that her father loved her more than life itself. That he died protecting not just her, but the entire world from weapons that should never exist. The emergency responders reached their floor. Flashlights appeared in the doorway. Is everyone accounted for? A paramedic called out. Everyone's safe, Victoria responded. Then quieter to Marcus. Will this really work? It has to, Marcus said, finishing his work at the console. Because the alternative is watching my daughter's investigation destroy everything I've built and put her in Harrison Webb's crosshairs. He powered down the displays and moved toward the maintenance corridor. The evidence will reach Lisa through her private investigator in 48 hours. By then, the federal investigation will be closed. Harrison Webb will move on to other targets, and my daughter can finally have the wedding she deserves. But you'll never see her get married, Sarah said sadly. Marcus paused at the corridor entrance. I'll be there. What? Marcus Reed won't be there. But a certain catering company employee might be working the event. He smiled sadly. After all, someone has to make sure the coffee machine works properly. And with that, he disappeared into the building's hidden passages, leaving behind the legend of Dr. Marcus Reed and returning to the safety of invisibility. But this time, with the knowledge that his sacrifice had been seen, understood, and honored by the people whose lives he'd quietly protected for over 2 decades. The first emergency responders reached the basement level. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness of the stairwell. Down here, Victoria called out. We're all safe. As the rescue team secured the area, Marcus quietly shut down the displays around him. The classified files disappeared back into hidden servers. The room began to look like any other mechanical space. There's one more thing, he said to the group. The real emergency today wasn't the power failure. It was a test. Someone wanted to see how this building's security systems would respond to a crisis. Victoria's eyes widened. Who? I'm still analyzing the data, but someone with high-level access triggered that lockdown remotely. Someone who wanted to see if the safeguards I've built over the years could be overcome. Marcus's expression was grim. This was reconnaissance. For what? I don't know yet, but I'll be watching. He moved toward a maintenance corridor. And I'll keep you all safe, just like I have for 12 years. Marcus, wait. Sarah reached out to him. He paused, turning back one last time. Take care of each other. You're better people than you know. And then he was gone, disappeared into the building's hidden pathways like he'd never been there at all. The official report blamed the lockdown on a cascading power failure and software malfunction. The emergency response was praised as exemplary. No mention was made of hidden control rooms or ghost engineers. But things changed after that day. Victoria Blackwood instituted new policies recognizing support staff. Mr. Rodriguez got his long-overdue promotion. Mrs. Patterson was moved to human resources where her people skills could shine. Sarah Chen was promoted to team leader, partly because her colleagues vouched for her character. And every morning, when employees found their workspaces clean and their systems running perfectly, some of them paused to look around for the quiet man who made it all possible. They still called him the ghost janitor, but now they said it with respect. And late at night, when the building was empty except for one man and his squeaking cart, Marcus Reed would check the security systems one more time, ensuring that the people who'd become his family would be safe for another day. After all, being invisible didn't mean being powerless. Sometimes it meant being exactly where you needed to be. The end.